Someone has been caught. You've been caught, Mr. Rat. Little rat. What'd you do, rat? Got caught. That's what happened. Rat catcher 5000. And what do we have here? Hello. What are you doing? Being bad. Oh, relax. You're not going anywhere. Just be calm. You have been captured. But we will let you go. Ratcatcher 5000. So what we've got here is $15,000. Sure don't get very much these days. And look at that. I've taken back my living room. Merchandise free. Well, except for the fluke rack. I'll be getting more racks soon. Well, I'm happy to report I'm back to a rat-free home environment. Thanks to the Ratcatcher 5000. Ended up catching 4 of them inside the house. It got kind of tough towards the last couple because they got smart on me, but it really was just like fishing. I just kind of had to keep on adapting and changing things here and there until I got it figured out. But then I got them, so they're all outside now. I've been putting little bread bait balls just kind of in a few different places. They haven't been getting eaten, so I'm pretty sure they're all gone. I'm not hearing them scurrying around in the rafters and in the sidewalls anymore, so I think we're good. Everybody's happy. I'm happy on the inside. They're happy on the outside. I threw a few breadcrumbs and stuff out at nighttime, so I think they're happy. But yeah, that's all good now. Now that the rats are gone, I've got my photo studio back. It's time for the Fort of Knowledge. As I mentioned in the title, it's time for our transition. And the transition I'm talking about is the transition to our fall/wintertime fishing season. Now, instead of a calendar date to kick off our winter fishing season, it's more temperature based. So in the Keys, when we start seeing these fronts push down and our temperatures drop into the 60s, low 60s, which correspondingly will generally make South Florida's about in the 50s. At the same time, the North Florida's will probably be in the 40s. Because what it is that it's those winter storm fronts pushing along the mainland U.S., and then that cold air gets pushed down to us. So whenever we get these storm fronts, you'll always see that it's a north to south wind direction change. And then you can know for sure that the temps are going to follow. And those temperatures affect the water temperatures, which is really the deciding factor when the winter fishing season kicks off and we start seeing that species movement. Now, much like the snowbirds, who are the older retired folk who live up in the mainland U.S., who start evacuating when all the blizzards and dreary weather hits the mainland, they start migrating south down to Florida and even down to the Keys, where we have more protective weather. It's no different for the fish. They're up here in the Gulf of Mexico, the Atlantic side. Through the spring and summer, they're enjoying the 70, 80, up to 90 degree water temps. But then all of a sudden those blizzards and storms starts pushing through, and that also drops those water temps. So then all of a sudden they're seeing 60 degrees, 50 degree, 40 degree water temps. And they're like, nah, we're out of here. We're heading down to the Keys. So they all start migrating down Florida, chasing that warmer water here. Now, down in the Keys and South Florida, we benefit from 2 things. One, we have very mild winter temps. Our average winter temps are mid to high 70s to low 80s pretty much throughout the whole winter season. When there's a major storm that pushes through the mainland U.S., we'll get that residual cold fronts and then we'll drop down to the 60s for a couple of days and then we're right back up into the 70s and 80s again. The other thing that we have is that we have the protection, or more for the fish wise, is that they have a protection of the Gulf Stream that runs parallel with the Florida Keys down here. And that's a constant stream of warm water. So regardless of the air temps, there's warm water that pushes through and wraps around the Florida here. So that kind of protects our water temps from getting shocked. Even though the temps get down into the 50 or 60s air temps, our water conditions will stay a little bit warmer. So that's kind of the reason for that big push there. We'll also see a big influx of fish, and probably the biggest difference is that we start seeing the fish from the Everglades push out from that kind of reserve area there, and they'll start swimming down the Keys looking for that warmer waters. That's why if you watch my wintertime videos when I'm down in Key West, you'll see all of a sudden I'll start catching some redfish, sea trout, and so forth. And that's just strictly a couple week window when I do that. That's because we'll get those cold shocks. Those fish from the Everglades will make that 100-mile swim down to the lower Keys and hang out there for a while. And then when those water temps start warming back up, they start heading back up there and I don't see them again. So that's kind of the transition that we're going to be seeing here. All right, so now on to the second most emailed question I get, with the first being, will you take me fishing? And that answer would be no. When I take people out fishing, I don't get to fish, much like guys don't. So I don't like doing that. And two, we have guides down here that that's the way they make their living and feed their families. So I have good reputation with people down here, so I leave that up to them. Now, the second most question is, I'm coming down the week of blah, blah, blah December, or blah, blah, blah of January or February. What am I going to catch? What should I fish for? Now, my general response, and the easiest for me, is go back to my videos of the same time frame that you'll be coming down in the prior years, and you'll have an exact fishing diary of what I was catching during that same exact time frame. So that's really the best way to do it. I don't just randomly go out fishing. I go out fishing for what's going to be biting, what's in season, what's my best chances. So that's a real good rule of thumb. If you kind of want to know what's going to be happening here in the end of December, go back into my older videos to last year, end of December, the year before that, and you'll have an exact record of the bait I'm using, the type of fishing I'm doing, and what I'm catching, okay? But what I'm going to do here is just kind of give you a breakdown between the different types of fishing that you'll see. I'm going to break it down by the Gulf side and the Atlantic side, since that's easy enough. So on the Gulf side, talking about the flats, okay, skinny water, foot or less, okay? The one big change is that the thinner the water, the more impact the air temperatures are, because that changes. There's a lot less volume to change, so it's a lot quicker to get colder in the winter time. And the fish don't like that, especially the fish like bonefish. So during our winter time, if we start getting a lot of cold snaps, say goodbye to bonefish. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to come up on the flats. They'll stay in deeper water where that temperature is a little bit more controlled. However, if it's global warming and we don't have very many cold fronts, we'll have good bone fishing throughout the whole winter time, because 75, 80 to 85 degree water temps, regardless of summer or winter time, is what they want. And if that's what it is, then bonefish away. But if we're getting those cold snaps right off the bonefish, go for something else. You, however, can find permit. They don't mind the cold, so they're going to be there. So if you're going after the top tier fish, the permit will still be around. Heavy into the cuda and the sharks, they're more than happy with the cold water temps. They actually like it, and it turns on their metabolism to want to eat more. So they become definitely more aggressive during the winter time. You'll see a lot bigger cudas on the flats, sitting in those sandy potholes. And you'll see a lot more sharks roaming outside of the channels and out of the deep water. Big sharks. So a lot of fun there. The other thing that you'll see is when we have all the mullet and the bait fish on the flats, you'll see a lot of busting action. And that's most likely the jacks are going to be setting those off. And we get a lot more of those bigger jacks from the up coast there, pushing down, so they're a lot bigger than our normal jacks that we have in the wintertime. Also, the redfish, like I said, we'll start getting those bigger and more volume of redfish pushing down from the Everglades all the way down to Key West and beyond. Also, what happens late December, beginning January, the cobia, because they follow the sharks. So as the sharks move inshore, you'll start seeing cobias migrating through as well. So that's a unique thing during the winter time. Now talking about the Gulf side, the Gulf and the channels and the little bit deeper water, the outside edge of the flats start when you're getting to the open water. A lot of where the channels start dumping water out into the Gulf of Mexico, out by the external islands there. You're going to see the Gulf and the channel area. We'll start seeing some pompano down here. A big influx of the mackerel. That's the kings, the Spanish, and the Cero. So that's a treat. A lot of these guys. You put out the chum bag, you'll get the ballyhoo, and then you'll see these guys busting on them. So great opportunity for a big king, a lot of Spanish, a lot of Cero. Also, the sea trout will push in from the Everglades down to us. So we'll have those guys around as long as those water temps stay cool. Those same jacks that you're going to see on the flats, you'll see them running around the channels and everywhere. They're just everywhere. Anywhere they follow the bait school, so that's where the jacks will be there. Also, we get a push of the bluefish from the upper Atlantic side. Okay, that's a unique thing, and those things are ferocious. Those northeastern guys know about the bluefish. So we might not get as big of them, but we get a lot of more of their juveniles, and they're very aggressive, toothy guys, hit freaking anything. So a great fight there. Smoke them, and you can still eat them. We also get a push of the ladyfish, which we don't have down here in the Keys except for in the wintertime. That's more of a mainland Florida type bait fish. So fun to catch as well as good bait. And once again, we're going to have those influx of kudas moving in for the cold water. Sharks as well. Snappers are year-round, so they're always going to be around. When you get with the snappers, when you get those big first initial cold shocks, when it goes from high 70s, 80 degrees down to low 60s and 50s, it'll be a lot slower fishing for a few days until they acclimatize and kind of get used to things. So you just got to keep an eye out for that. We'll always have tarpon around, but still during that winter time, it'll just be the juveniles. And tarpon are very temperature sensitive. So when it starts getting in that 60s degree water temps, low 70s, you won't see tarpon anymore. They're going to go out to the deeper water, hang out there till it starts warming back up again. We'll also have that push of redfish again from the Everglades down, and those cobias swimming around through the shark. So that's kind of what you should be expecting and what you'll be targeting in this winter seasons. All right, now on the Atlantic side, we basically have the patch reef and reef, kind of a combine there. You have the reef edge there, and then you got the inside where there is a lot of little patch reefs, and then you get into the Hawk Channel, which is just kind of a deeper trench there, sandy bottom, and then you finally get to the flats by the mainland. So we're going to be talking about the patch reefs and the reef here. Yellowtails year-round, so as long as there's current, again, Gulf Stream kind of protects those deeper waters out there, so they're not as affected by the cold streaks, but it does probably change a little bit. But yellowtails are good year-round there. The groupers are very different, is that they move into the reef and the patch reef, versus usually you're going to find them in deeper waters, 70, 100, 150 plus feet. Now you'll catch groupers in 15 to 20 feet on the patch reefs, 30, 35 foot on the regular reef. They move in shallow, so that's a good target species there. Other snappers like the muttons down here, some mangroves, but just dependent. We'll have a big push of the mackerels. Again, the Ceros in Spanish on the inshore and the kings out towards the edge of the reef. But anytime you put the chum bag out there, get the ballyhoos behind you, these guys will show up as well. You'll have the fun fish. The jacks will be out. They're everywhere, and they're anywhere there's food, they're going to be there. Big ones, hard fighters, especially in the colder water. Sharks are always a problem everywhere. And then again, the kudas are pretty much out there and about. So the key thing with this is really the wintertime means ballyhoo. I generally just, anywhere I'm kind of off from the mainland, it's the ballyhoo. It really kicks into place there. So that's what I would like to either live line for the top waters, like the mackerels and so forth. Groupers, the muttons on the bottom one, a live one pegged to the bottom, or ballyhoo chunks for the yellowtails and the other snappers as well. But there's also all the sardines are pushing in. That's the pilchards and so forth, the herrings, flying fish. And you're going to see that they're going to move in from offshore and start moving into on top of the reef and even in shore. And that's the reason why you're going to see these bigger varieties of predator fish moving on top of the reef, where normally they're out in the blue water. In the blue water, we're going to be seeing sailfish, and that's a big target species for the charter fishermen in the big sportsman's boat. So you'll see a lot of them sailfishing right on the edge of the reef or just outside the reef. So within a mile of the outside edge of the reef, they're looking for sailfish out there, and they're just going back and forth along that the reef line. Also the big kingfish, cirros in Spanish as well. Lots of tunas. Again, instead of having to go to the 300, 500, 1,000 foot depth, the tunas are going to start moving in. So just outside the reef line, 100 foot, 150 foot of water, you're going to start seeing those. Still, if you want the bigger ones, go out to the wrecks or out to the humps. And that's definitely, you're going to see them there, which they are year round. Also a lot of bonito, and you'll actually find the bonito pushing that bait on top of the reef. And you'll see the big schools of them busting bait fish out there. Wahoo are kind of year round, but we'll see them during the full moons, and marlins as well, as they're chasing those bonitos and other bait fish in closer. They'll start moving in closer. The big key is the ballyhoo, especially for the sailfish. That's specifically what these sailfish are eating. But you'll see them either chasing after the sailfish and throwing a ballyhoo at them, or the charter guys will be out kite fishing, set up a couple of kites out there with 3 or 4 baits per kite, and they're looking for all these species as well. So that kind of covers what we'll be seeing in the Atlantic side. The biggest thing to key in on is the ballyhoo. Find the ballyhoo, find the fish. If you can get a live well of pilchards on the mainland and take them out there, you're just as golden too, but kind of hit or miss during the wintertime. All right, so that's a general breakdown of our winter fishery. So if you're coming down December, January, February, that's what you can catch or what you should be fishing for. The only caveat in February is kind of the unofficial kickoff of our tarpon season. We'll start getting that first tip of the migration on the Gulf side tarpon moving down the Gulf Coast there. And we'll start seeing them trickling into our backcountry with March, April, May being our primary tarpon season, and then our spring season going into effect. But otherwise, that's what to expect. So come on down, check it out. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video. Bye.